Hi guys, today we are going to be looking at sedentary lifestyles for revision for the GCSE exam for paper 2, and this one particularly looking at Edexcel paper. So the main sort of questions that you'll be facing in the paper is to say what is a sedentary lifestyle, with some examples of the causes of a sedentary lifestyle, and then probably the biggest area would be the consequences of sedentary lifestyles. So with that in mind, let's crack on and do some revision on it. So in terms of what a sedentary lifestyle is, you need to know this very basic definition. So it's a lifestyle with little to no physical activity, and you might have to you might be asked a 1-mark exam question where you have to just literally write that definition in it, or it could be a multiple choice question where you have to identify it from a range of choices. Most often you're going to have to write this down, so make sure you've learnt this definition. And even if it was like a 9-mark exam question, which does come up on this area quite regularly, you'll start with that definition. So do learn what a sedentary lifestyle is. So sedentary means you're basically not moving around, so it's little to no physical activity. And there's another sort of example you could expand on it with not exercising on a regular basis. Now, another key term that is linked to this area is osteoporosis, and you've probably heard it before in other lessons, but you need to make sure you're very clear on what osteoporosis is, because it does come up a bit in this, and there's exam questions that ask about what things might cause osteoporosis or what prevent causing osteoporosis. So osteoporosis is where your bones become brittle and weak and more susceptible to breaking. So the main way to prevent osteoporosis is weight-bearing activities, so where your limbs are taking your body weight. So this is an example here where multiple choice where you've got to pick whether it's aerobics, cycling, rowing or swimming, and aerobics is the only activity here where your bones are actually taking the weight of your body. In exercise, cycling and rowing, the body is supported by the machines you're on, and swimming, the body is supported by water. So typically it needs to be an activity where you're running, jumping, or skipping or something along those lines, where your body is hitting the ground and the weight is being transferred down through your bones to make them essentially harder and more dense, increase your bone density. So that helps prevent osteoporosis. So it's just something to remember. It could be a question on its own with multiple choice questions, but quite often students ask, what is osteoporosis? And that is it. And it comes up a lot in this area because if you have a sedentary lifestyle, you're not putting pressure on your bones, and there's more chance of getting osteoporosis. So the causes and reasons why people are more sedentary nowadays. Now, there are sort of two branches to this, and I'm going to talk about just the main generic causes and then sort of like the personal factors that might impact it as well. So the main causes are labour-saving devices, so things that make work easier. And around the house you have many labour-saving devices such as a dishwasher or a washing machine, and you just stick your stuff in them and you turn it on and it does it for you. But if you are, say, hand washing up, you're going to be burning more calories than if you were just sticking it in the dishwasher. Other things such as automatic lawnmowers, automatic vacuum cleaners are the next steps up with these concepts of labour-saving devices, and what they're doing is they're preventing you burning calories because it does it all for you. So that's one of the main causes of a sedentary lifestyle. So you've got your example, you've got your point here, and then you've got your examples backed up with a specific example. So just remember that word labour-saving devices and an example of at least one. Now, transport has changed. Obviously, we used to walk and then we started to cycle over it, but now buses and cars are taking the place of walking, so you're not burning calories while you're walking, you're not moving around as much, you're sitting in a car, and therefore you are not being as physically active. And then other aspects of technological development, so yeah, TV, video games, they are more appealing than physically exercising and playing sport to many people. So and the video games are designed in that way, so to keep people addicted to it, and so is TV really. So it actually prevents people doing physical activity and therefore become more sedentary. Now, other types of questions that you might get faced is what factors might cause a particular age group or a particular group of people to be less physically active or to lead sedentary lifestyles. So in the probably the most recent one is where it asks why young people are at greater risk of sedentary lifestyles. And what they don't really want to know is these causes. What they want to know is the personal factors that can affect it. So if it gives you a particular age group or a target group, so young people, age related, it could be gender, it could be ethnicity, it could be disability based. Just try to remember those barriers to participation. So for younger people, it's a lack of money. You know, older people have more money. Youngsters don't have the money to pay for the activities at the clubs and the health clubs and the fitness clubs or the sports clubs. There's a lack of transport. So if you can't drive or you can't get to certain places, then you can't take part in it. So you are often reliant on your parents to drop you at certain activities. And so until you get to a certain age, you are limited on what ways and where you can get to. So lack of transport is an issue for some people. And then lack of time. And this could be an older person's, someone who works full time, for example, has a lack of time. But yeah, generally kids and youngsters don't have the time because they're at school and doing schoolwork and school homework. So if you put in things like too busy doing exams and homework, you might not get the mark. You need to put in that keyword lack of time. So just remember the personal factors, and that links to barriers to participation. So what are the consequences? And this is probably going to be the biggest area and the most important area to sort of revise. And it's very similar to one of the other videos I've put together, which is the consequences of exercise on your health. And this is quite a similar area, so it's a lot of crossover. So revising this area will help you with the benefits of exercise on physical health, so and emotional health and social health. So we've done that video, and this is linked. So the consequences of not exercising, not taking part, little to no physical activity. Obesity, diabetes and high blood pressure, all quite similar sort of areas, and they're caused because of a poor energy balance. So energy balance is the amount of calories consumed versus the amount of calories burned. And if you consume more calories than you actually burn, then you are going to put fat stores on. Whereas if you can burn more calories than you consume, you're going to lose body fat. And if you can maintain the balance between the calories consumed and the calories burnt, then you'll maintain your weight. So it's energy balance. If you don't maintain an energy balance, you have a positive energy balance, it means you are going to put on body fat, and then physical activity will be harder to do, and then you will struggle to actually start doing physical activity because you will find it hard. And that leads to things like diabetes and high blood pressure as well. You could link in the psychological and the mental well-being with depression is increased. Because when you're not exercising, not moving around, you're not releasing your serotonins, dopamine and endorphins, and you don't get the feel-good factor of exercise. And that means it can affect you psychologically. So you can feel lack of happiness, which leads to depression. You get lack of confidence, increase in anxiety, and lack of self-esteem. So all of these sort of areas are linked to depression. Back to the physical aspects, we've got increase in risk of CHD, cardiac heart disease, and coronary heart disease, and it's because of a lacking the aerobic activity. Aerobic activity is where you're using oxygen to generate energy, and it's usually through sort of consistently a constant exercise, a longer duration of exercise, but maybe at a lower intensity. And impact on that is it can lower your life expectancy, so you're more likely to die younger. and that's a serious issue for many people. We've already discussed osteoporosis as a risk of a sedentary lifestyle, but that's due to the lack of weight-bearing activity, like I just talked about earlier, where you're not compressing your bones enough, the density of your bones isn't growing, and therefore there's a greater risk of injuries and fractures. And then finally, people will develop a poor posture, and usually because they don't have the muscle tone that's associated with physical activity and physical exercise, and therefore they find it difficult to perform daily tasks and will struggle with the performance of day-to-day things that they need to do. So let's look at a 9-mark exam question. And it will maybe say discuss the consequences of a sedentary lifestyle or something along those lines. So remember, AO1 is the sort of key facts if you get this exam question about something to do with the sedentary lifestyle in a 9-marker. AO1 key facts, the definitions, the key bits of knowledge. Okay, AO2, remember that's the application, so essentially examples where it takes place, and then AO3 is sort of the evaluative points, the analysis. So the easiest thing to do is whatever in any 9-marker, you need to define what the content or the concept is that they're asking you to talk about. And if it was if they're giving you 3 sort of different concepts, so if it was a diet question and they ask you about protein, carbohydrates, and minerals, then define those 3 things. So in this sense, we would define what a sedentary lifestyle is, and you can even be practicing this as we go through it now. Then give some just basic consequences of what a sedentary lifestyle leads to. So we talked about these areas just a second ago. So all you need to say is why or how it leads to those potential consequences. And then we move to AO2 with the examples and application. So we go into a little bit more detail. So people are going to increase their obesity because of a lack of energy or poor energy balance, and we discussed that earlier. A lack of aerobic exercise, that's linked to the coronary heart disease, we just talked about that. Osteoporosis is lack of weight-bearing activities, and poor posture is just due to lack of muscle tone. So very much what we just talked about earlier. The slide beforehand, essentially leading you up for this 9-mark exam question. But then we've got to go to the sort of analytical side of it and sort of the explanatory points in this 9-marker. So reasons why you might have a lack of energy balance and leading to obesity is because of labor-saving devices. Why are we not burning those calories? Because there are things preventing us burning those calories. You could always talk about the personal factors that I've discussed earlier, but you know, the labor-saving devices is the main cause of people not burning their calories. I've already mentioned about reducing your life expectancy if you are lacking those aerobic sort of exercises. Weight-bearing activities are going to increase the risk of fractures and breaks in the bones, and then lack of muscle tone and poor posture can lead to injury. So if you were to take part in any physical activity, it might cause the risk of injury, or even just day-to-day activities could lead to an injury, but also the inability to perform everyday tasks. So very similar to the slide we just talked about, but we're now putting it into that 9-mark exam question, which it has been asked a fair few times, so I would suggest that you approach this revision on this page with the 9-mark in mind. And then if you get a 1-marker or a 2-marker on it, then you'll be smashing it out because you've already got the 9 marks available to you. Right, I hope that has helped you, and you've got the exam very soon, so best of luck with that, and I'll put a few more videos up probably over the next couple of days.